I remember that I was talking to my husband about China and all of the craziness that's going on there right now, right? You look at these videos and you just go, how on earth?
I think this might be one of the biggest shakeups we've seen in modern fashion and manufacturing, maybe ever. Candace Owens just dropped a bombshell. She claims that Nike is next after China allegedly cut off all production for Hermes and Louis Vuitton. Just think about that for a second. We're not talking about some off-brand handbag or small boutique label. This is Hermes. This is Louis Vuitton. These are luxury empires. Brands that define wealth, power, status. And China, the global engine room for luxury production.
And I just said, how is this possible? How is it possible? Where they don't know what they're fighting for. This is how it's always been.
Allegedly just ended them. If that really happened, and Nike is next, we're looking at a seismic shift. Something that could topple the entire fashion supply chain. I mean it. Nike is more than sneakers. It's identity, culture. It's one of the most recognized logos on earth. Their supply chain is everything. And Candace says that chain's about to snap. She called it a massive power shift.
It brought me to an understanding of how delicate freedom is.
And honestly, I agree. If China is done helping build Western luxury, what's left? What happens when the place that makes your empire says, we're not interested anymore? This isn't just business. It's war without bombs. And if Owens is right, this next move could annihilate Nike's distribution network, cancel product launches, devastate sneaker culture, and wipe out billions in value. All overnight. And if Nike really is next, like she says, then everything we think we know about global power is about to flip upside down.
Most of them are made in China, and most of them are made in our factory. Yeah, I'm telling you. But why these luxury brands never tell you that? Because they are trying to pretend to be products of some sophisticated European countries like Italy or France.
We are going to be successful. In a few weeks, the shop was open. We sell the most expensive products in a country where everybody was going by
China allegedly pulled the plug on all Hermes and Louis Vuitton production. Just gone. No warning, no negotiation. Owens said it flat out. They're done. Shut down. Disconnected from the most powerful manufacturing network in the world. And let's be clear, this isn't some shady rumor from a fashion blog. This came straight from Candace Owens. And if what she's saying is true, it's nothing short of shocking.
A slowdown and a contraction in the global luxury market. About 50 million people either opted out or were forced out of the luxury market over the past 2 years.
I do feel people started to get tired of purchasing products and realize that we just bought too much and it didn't really make us happy.
Hermes and Louis Vuitton aren't just brands. They're pillars, legacy powerhouses that people across the globe wait years to own. Bags that cost more than some cars, items that are worshipped. And China was the factory floor that made the entire machine possible. So when China allegedly says, we're finished, that's not just a production issue. That's a global luxury collapse. I think this is China making a statement. We're done building your prestige while you cash the checks. It's the biggest flex I've seen in years. And yet, silence. No headlines. No emergency interviews.
This is what he's announcing today. He has said that the reciprocal tariff, this is Scott Besson who announced it, the reciprocal tariff on China, where we jacked ours up to 125 and then they jacked theirs up on us to 125 for all goods, is now going to 10%.
The media? Barely touching it. It's like everyone's afraid to talk. But we should be talking. Because this affects thousands of jobs, billions in exports, and the entire supply chain from Paris to New York. One decision, and poof, two of. The biggest names in the world gone from China. So if this really happened, then the question becomes, who's next? And Owens has an answer. Candace Owens didn't pull any punches. She said Nike is allegedly next.
U.S. said the reductions will last for 90 days while the talks continue.
Factories that used to churn out products for Hermes and Louis Vuitton, she says they're shifting focus and quietly cutting ties with Nike too. That's a death sentence. If it's true, let's be honest, Nike built an empire on Chinese manufacturing. Flip over almost any shoe, hoodie, or athletic wear, and what does it say? Made in China. Their entire production model depends on it. From Air Max to Jordans to Dunks. If that supply chain collapses, so does the entire sneaker industry. And I don't think people realize just how fast this would hit. We're not talking years.
These are pieces of artwork. These artisans train years and years to make one of these bags.
Fabrice is doing the last stitching on a Kelly bag. A Kelly takes around 13 hours to be made, depending on the materials that we make it. Our artisans, they need to do 4 years of training to be able to manufacture a Kelly bag.
Your Hermes says, made in China, does it feel cheaper? No, that's not quality issue. It's luxury brand washing.
We're talking weeks. If China shuts those doors, new releases stop. Shipping delays kick in, orders get canceled, Nike's own retail partners start panicking. Resale prices shoot into the stratosphere. Hype dies, because there's no inventory to feed it. This isn't just a manufacturing issue. It's a cultural crisis. Sneaker drops aren't just shoes. They're events. Millions of people wait for every release. Influencers build entire careers around them. If those shoes don't come, the whole system collapses like a house of cards. And let's be honest, Nike has been vulnerable for a while.
So it's higher. We're definitely charging more for Chinese goods to come into this country.
Hermes, you guys, it's time to show off your factories. No, I don't want to wait to go on YouTube and watch a beautiful documentary on. Show them off right here on TikTok. Let the world see. Okay, get like China. You got to be ghetto about it. Just let people know.
Reports of factory strain, rising costs, weird shipping gaps, they've been stacking up. And if Owens is right, those weren't accidents. They were warning signs, red flags that China was already pulling away, step by step. And that means this isn't a maybe. It's a countdown. And what happens when that countdown hits 0? Let's not play dumb. If China is really pulling the plug on Western luxury, and now Nike, I think this isn't just business. This feels like a deliberate move. A carefully timed power play. Candace Owens frames it as a strategic pivot, and honestly, I think that's putting it lightly. This looks like retaliation. This looks like a warning shot. It's not just, we're changing partners. It's China allegedly standing up and saying, we built your empire. We made your brands global. And now we're done. That's what makes this so chilling. It's not about labor costs. It's about leverage, control. It's about sending a message that they no longer want to play second fiddle in a system they carried for decades, and the targets aren't random. Hermes and Louis Vuitton represent prestige and luxury. Nike? Nike represents influence, streetwear, sports, celebrity. Cool. Targeting Nike is targeting culture itself. You take down Nike and you're not just choking off sneakers, you're cutting off identity pipelines in every corner of the world. The West's cultural exports start with brands like Nike. So ask yourself, why now? Why strike at the heart of fashion and influence in the same breath? Because China wants to remind everyone who's really in charge. And I think they're doing it without saying a single word. Nike made itself vulnerable. I think their own global dominance made them lazy, arrogant. For years, they relied on being iconic, believing their brand alone was too big to fail. But behind the scenes, the cracks were already forming. Shipping, delays, inconsistent product releases, mysterious inventory drops. It was all there, hiding in plain sight. And who was propping them up the whole time? China, the factories, the workforce, the streamlined supply chain. Without that, Nike becomes a hollow shell. And Owens says those factories are backing away fast. She claims Nike's lifeline in China is already cut, or almost there. And looking at the signs, I believe her. Think about it. Why else would pre-order shipments vanish without explanation? Why else would press releases suddenly get vague and corporate speak heavy? Why else would they quietly scale back limited edition drops that used to be centerpieces? Nike's silence isn't confidence, it's fear. They know that if they say the wrong thing, stock tanks. Headlines explode, panic spreads, so they're keeping quiet, hoping people don't notice. But I think it's already too late. The factories have moved on. And Nike? They're scrambling behind the curtain, because once the tap is shut off at the source, it doesn't matter how powerful your marketing is. There's nothing left to sell. And that silence? It's about to cost them everything. Let's stop pretending this only affects sneakerheads. This is much bigger. If Nike's production in China shuts down completely, the entire streetwear economy is going to collapse. Full stop. This isn't just one brand taking a hit. It's the collapse of a whole culture that was built on steady, high-volume releases. Think about every local boutique store that relies on Nike drops to stay alive. Wiped out. Think about the influencers, resellers, stylists, and athletes tied to upcoming campaigns. Everything grinds to a halt. Pre-orders, gone. Supply chains, broken. Trust in Nike's release calendar, dead on arrival. And let's talk resale. Markets. Because that bubble is about to burst or inflate so fast it explodes. With supply drying up, resellers will panic. Prices will skyrocket, and desperate collectors will chase after whatever's left. But once they realize nothing new is coming, the entire ecosystem implodes. And what happens when Nike's competitors see this? Adidas might try to grab market share, so might Puma, maybe even Under Armour. But they better think twice because if China's cutting ties across the board with Western brands, then nobody's safe. This could be a sweeping blackout, a clean break. Owens calls it a controlled collapse. And I agree. I think this isn't just a one-off. I think this is the blueprint for what's coming next. Owens framed this not as an isolated business decision, but as the end of an era. She says China is allegedly realigning their manufacturing with new markets, new players, and new priorities. Maybe regional loyalty, maybe a new economic bloc. What I think, this is the beginning of a new manufacturing order. It's a quiet war, a silent decoupling. Instead of sanctions and headlines, it's happening through cold business decisions. Ending factory contracts, redirecting labor, freezing out brands, and for Nike, who's been king for decades, this could be the first real dethroning in years. And the scariest part, Nike hasn't said a word. Here's what no one's talking about. This isn't just about Nike losing factories. It's about thousands of resellers who built entire businesses around Nike's dominance. And if Owens is right and those Chinese factories are done, then the reseller economy is about to take a direct hit. Think about it. No more guaranteed inventory, no more restocks, no more bulk pre-orders. Limited releases like Travis Scott Jordan's, Dunks, Off-White collabs, they'll vanish. And the ones already out there, prices will explode overnight. We're talking 2x, 3x, even 10x markups on dead stock pairs. But here's the kicker. Without consistent supply, resale becomes unsustainable. Bots, cook groups, proxies, they don't matter if there's nothing to buy. I think we're about to see panic in every sneaker Discord, every StockX seller group, every kid who thought Nike was a safe hustle. This isn't a dip. It's a landslide. And it gets worse when you realize who else might fall after Nike. Candace Owens didn't stop at Nike. She made it clear, this isn't about one brand. It's about every Western company that bet their entire existence on Chinese manufacturing. And I think she's right. If Hermes, Louis Vuitton, and Nike can get dropped, no one is safe. I'm looking at Apple, at Levi's, at high-end tech and fashion brands that slapped their name on products but outsourced every stitch, every chip, every inch of labor to China for decades. Owens hinted that multiple companies are on thin ice, and I think we're watching a total reset in real time. Imagine what happens if Apple's iPhone factories pause production, or if luxury watchmakers lose access to precision tools made in Asia. Owens says this is a rebalancing, and honestly, I think it's a controlled collapse, brand by brand, one factory contract at a time. And if Nike really is next, the others won't be far behind. I think Owens is onto something. And if she's right, the consequences are already in motion. Hermes and Louis Vuitton allegedly got axed. And now, Nike may be next. Their silence isn't calming anyone down. It's making the panic louder. Because what happens when a cultural icon starts bleeding and says nothing? We've seen giants fall before. Blockbuster, Kodak, MySpace. Every one of them thought they were too big to fail, until they did. Nike's moment of reckoning could already be happening. And I don't think people are ready.